Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Outspoken Samantha. So today we're going to discuss a recent event that has made headlines, and some are arguing that it may have even made history. And that is the Blue Origin spaceflight carrying Katy Perry, Sanchez, Gayle King, and Kerianne Flynn, along with a couple of others. Now, this flight took place yesterday, April 14th, 2025, and this all-female crew launched into space for a brief mission, and they are attempting to paint this as some kind of progress for women. But unfortunately for them, nobody's really buying that. In fact, this might be one of the few issues that is uniting both the left and the right, because most people just think it was stupid and pointless. So we're going to get into some of the details of the event of this venture, the public response. But before we do, please hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you doing both of those things. So let's discuss this major event that took place yesterday, because it is not being painted as a giant leap for mankind, but a giant leap for womankind, apparently. So what are the details of this trip? Well, the Blue Origin NS-31 mission launched from West Texas, carrying 6 women: pop star Katy Perry, journalist Gayle King, Jeff Bezos' fiancée Lauren Sanchez, filmmaker Kerianne Flynn, rocket scientist Aisha Bowie, and activist Amanda Wen. Apparently, they did reach the Kármán line, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is 62 miles above Earth, and they experienced a few minutes of weightlessness. And thank goodness they returned safely after a whopping 10 minutes and 21 seconds up there.
1, 2, 3, take us space! Woo! Behind you, look right behind you. It's okay, you it up there. Flynn, I got you. I got you, Flynn. Oh, the moon! You guys, I don't have to tell you. Look at the moon. Look. Okay. Look at the moon. Oh my gosh! So much. Whoa! That's amazing.
So that's kind of what that exploration looked like. And according to reports, the crowd of spectators watching this whole thing play out was just as star-studded. We had Oprah Winfrey, Kris Jenner, Katy Perry's daughter Daisy was watching. We also had BBC News report that Gayle King felt empowered after the flight, saying she believed that she could achieve anything now. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I think of progress for women, I generally think of someone like this. This is a photo of Sally Ride, who was the first female astronaut in 1983. She got a degree from Stanford University and underwent years and years and years of training. So to me, that's progress: hard work, dedication, and earning things based on merit. This is not progress. We've got custom designer spacesuits that were specifically tailored for the mission. And Sanchez reassured us that she did test them out to make sure that they would function in zero gravity, whatever that means. And then Katy Perry had to drive it all home by saying that she was going to put the ass in astronaut. And then, of course, Katy Perry had to throw in a brand deal by letting us know that she locked her makeup in and was space travel ready with this setting spray by L'Oreal. Now, as I said, most people are on board with the idea that this was pointless and not empowering at all, but there were a couple of posts trying to make this seem inspirational for young girls. This is from an account called BOA Digital Technologies Academy. It says, "History made. Yesterday, Blue Origin launched its first all-female crew into space, including Aisha Bowie, Katy Perry, and more. At BOA Digital, we champion the next gen of girls in STEM because this is the future we're building towards." However, in my opinion, this has nothing to do with STEM, because STEM requires work. These women were able to do this just because they're wealthy, and that's it. And I think that's the last message that we want to send to young girls, that they can bypass hard work and developing their skills and talents and just buy their way in. Also, in my opinion, that mindset is just one of the many reasons I think we have so many young women these days gearing themselves towards careers in adult entertainment. Because why go through a long process of effort when you can just take your clothes off online for a couple of years and earn enough money to end up in the same place? So it pushes the DEI narrative that we're not celebrating these women because they earned their place, but just because of their gender. There were a lot of people also criticizing this whole thing because of how it looks when so many people are struggling with real issues. This person says, watching a group of rich people go to space for a few minutes just for funsies while the country is in disarray and people can't afford to feed their families is really effing dystopian. Right below that, it says, giving Hunger Games capital citizen vibes. Also from the perspective of us everyday people who don't have so much money that we can feed the family, pay the mortgage, and travel to space all at the same time, this mission does raise questions about how we make these opportunities available to those who could really benefit from them. I believe that space exploration has always been considered a noble pursuit. I mean, look at the Apollo missions and the way that those things united the country. But Blue Origin's flights reportedly cost hundreds of thousands of dollars per ticket just to go on. And a lot of people seem to think that that money would be better allocated towards scholarships or funding more STEM schools so that we can give kids the opportunity to pursue a career in this field. And again, just based on overall optics, at a time when families are struggling to meet basic needs and to just get our country back on track, the question is, was this really a good time to do this? And honestly, I think these women do know how ridiculous this was. And the reason I think that is because in their interviews, they tried so hard to make it sound inspirational. It sounded like they were trying to convince themselves as much as anybody else that there was real purpose in this venture.
It is the highest high, and it is surrender to the unknown, trust. And this whole journey is not just about going to space. It's the training, it's the team, it's the whole thing. I couldn't recommend this experience more. This is like up there with all the, different tools that I've learned in my life, from meditation to the Hoffman process. This is up there because what you're doing is you're like really finding the love for yourself, because you got to trust in yourself.
Of those moments when you guys, just from the second you took off to the second you landed, describe, if you can, for us what we didn't get to hear.
It was a feeling of joy and camaraderie. It was a feeling of gratefulness. It was a feeling that we're doing this. And, Alan Shepard, I told you about this, did the same exact flight. And he became the first American in space. And 6 women just did the same flight that he did.
I think we're all still wondering, what exactly did this accomplish? I mean, this all-female crew was promoted as a win for gender equality, and I absolutely support women achieving great things, but this thing feels more like a publicity event than a scientific breakthrough. Aisha Bowie, a rocket scientist, conducted experiments during the flight, so that is commendable. Kerianne Flynn spoke about her lifelong dream of space, inspired by stargazing with her grandfather, and I do think that that is a very sweet thought. For the most part, most people, as I said, see this as completely pointless, and it did far more to harm female empowerment than it did any good, because again, we're not celebrating anything of value. We're expected to celebrate it just because it was women, and women everywhere were just not having it.
An idiot if you think Katy Perry did anything important today. You are, and I've touched on this before, but this is 10 minutes, boop boop, that's it. It's not like some big science expedition. Katy Perry did little to no training for this. And this is just a thing rich people do to brag about going to space. It's not real. Katy Perry's not a scientist. She's not an astronaut. She's not anyone who did anything important today. This helped 0 people. Okay. And there are so many women who have worked their whole lives in aerospace who deserve 1,000 times more credit. This was an ad for Amazon.
No, I don't respect the women that went into space today. I don't respect you at all. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves. With everything that's going on, this is what you think is important. How much does that cost? I don't know, $400,000 a person? I don't know. Did they even pay? Was it paid for them? And that's just to fly, not what it costs to launch the rocket and go up and come back. I'm disgusted.
And as I said, this was uniting both the left and the right, because this is a creator that I have called out for being like a typical white liberal woman. She has a lot of takes that I don't agree with, but we're on the same page. What was the point?
What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Why are we sending Katy Perry and Lauren Sanchez into space? Why did we need like a female suit? Why did we need a sexy space suit? This just literally looks like an SNL skit. Even like this picture of Gayle, like what are we doing? We're having Lauren Sanchez like debut the spacesuit. We're having Katy Perry give this wild interview to AP, not knowing anything about aerospace and just the math about what it takes. I'm excited to learn more about STEM. What? This is like Real Housewives of Space.
So that was the general consensus across most of the internet. Now, some of my personal criticisms are, one, we were told just a few months ago that if Trump got into office, we'd lose all of our rights as women and we wouldn't be able to do anything. Yet, these women who stood by Kamala Harris and promoted those lies are now designing spacesuits, embarking on historic journeys, and trying to inspire young women toward careers in space exploration. But why would you do that if you truly thought we were living under a dictatorship where women have no freedom and no choices and no future? Secondly, this continues to prove that these people have never bought into all of the climate change nonsense and hysteria either, because if you really thought that that was a thing, you wouldn't be wasting all of these resources just to get a selfie in space. And again, what does this do for female empowerment? Because in my view, this just shows that women make things worse, not better, because space exploration is something that should serve a greater purpose, advancing knowledge, strengthening our nation, or solving real problems. This stunt was nothing more than a vanity project, making women like we don't actually care about the hard work of others. We feel like we should be able to just waltz in on anybody else's project and devalue the effort and advancements that others have made, and using years of research and development as a backdrop for a good makeup day. It was truly embarrassing. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I don't care if celebrities want to take a pleasure trip into space. If they can afford it and that's how they want to spend their money, go for it. But what really irritates me is constantly trying to paint these things as furthering a cause or being tied to some kind of meaningful activism, or as really trying to do something better for the future for upcoming generations. That seems to be what a lot of celebrities do when they're pushing the things that they stand for, is they try to tie it to something meaningful when really it has no meaning whatsoever. And what it really does is belittle the hard work and effort of everybody else, generally people who are not gazillionaires, and it turns things that should be respected into a joke. But I would love to hear all of your thoughts on this in the comments below. Do you think this was a step forward for women or just a showcase for the wealthy? Again, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button on the video. If you tap on my face in the lower left-hand corner of the screen, that will get you subscribed to my channel. Other than that, keep it real, guys, and I will see you in the next one.